There is a crop that violates every principle of modern agriculture. Plant it once and it feeds you for decades. It survives winters that kill wheat. It produces more calories per acre than potatoes without irrigation, without fertilizer, without buying new seed ever again. For thousands of years, it was the foundation of food security across 2 continents. Then we erased it. Not because it failed to produce, because it produced too well. A perennial food source that regenerates itself forever cannot be sold annually. And what cannot be sold annually cannot generate profit. This is the story of the crop that refuses to die, and the system that needs you to forget it exists. Welcome to Lost Nature Archives. The archive opens in 1605 along the coast of what would become Massachusetts. French explorer Samuel de Champlain steps ashore. The Algonquin people greet him with a feast. Among the dishes sits a knobby root they call kapaes, the earth apple. Champlain tastes it. He writes in his journal that it rivals the finest artichokes of France. He fills his ship with tubers and sails back across the Atlantic. This is the sunchoke, Helianthus tuberosus, the perennial sunflower whose roots fed indigenous nations for millennia before any European arrived. The plant towers 8 to 10 feet tall. Yellow sunflowers crown its peak, tracking the sun across the sky. But the real treasure grows invisible underground. Knobby tubers in white, purple, and gold. They store their energy as inulin, not starch. A different kind of sweetness. A different kind of survival. Tribes from the Atlantic coast to the Great Plains understood what this plant offered. Plant it once, harvest forever. It spreads through underground rhizomes like veins beneath the earth. A single patch could feed a village for generations without replanting, without tending, without fail. In 1805, the Lewis and Clark expedition nearly starved crossing the Dakotas. Sacagawea saved them. She found mouse caches where rodents had stored thousands of sunchoke tubers for winter. She dug them up, roasted them over fire, and the expedition survived. The tubers could be eaten raw, crisp like water chestnuts, boiled until soft, dried into flour that lasted through the hardest winters. They survived freezing underground, waiting patiently for hungry hands. The yields were extraordinary. A single plant produces 3 to 6 pounds of food. An acre yields 64,000 calories without irrigation. Potatoes in perfect conditions with irrigation yield 53,000. This was not supplemental food. This was foundation. Survival made perennial. When Champlain brought sunchokes to France in 1605, Europe was starving. Soils exhausted from centuries of grain cultivation. Famines striking every few years. The potato had arrived from the Americas, but Europeans feared it. Rumors claimed it caused leprosy. But the sunchoke spread like salvation. The French called it topinambour. Italians called it girasole, sunflower. It fed peasants and kings alike. No fertilizer required. No intensive care. Plant a tuber in spring, harvest in fall. Leave fragments in the ground, and next year a full crop appears on its own. University trials centuries later confirmed what farmers already knew. Sunchokes produced 30,000 calories per acre. Potatoes produced 20,000. Sunchokes rivaled corn, the world's most important grain, in energy production. But problems emerged. The tubers were small, knobbly, irregular, difficult to clean, difficult to harvest by machine. They spoiled faster than potatoes, could not sit in warehouses for months, and the inulin caused digestive gas in people unaccustomed to it. By the mid-1700s, the potato won. Larger, smoother, easier to store. It fit the systems Europe had built. Warehouses, markets, tax collectors. The sunchoke fell from grace, reduced to food for the poor, animal feed, a crop for those with nothing better. In North America, European settlers called it a weed. They preferred crops from home, wheat and potatoes, crops that required buying new seed every year, crops that could be controlled, taxed, and sold at profit. The sunchoke survived in ditches and roadsides, forgotten corners where no one bothered to kill it, no longer cultivated, no longer valued, just waiting. Then war came. World War I, Germany strangled by Allied blockade. The winter of 1916 became known as the turnip winter. People ate rutabagas meant for livestock because potatoes had failed. Thousands died of starvation. Sunchokes saved some, growing wild in forgotten fields. They could not be blockaded, could not be seized by armies, just waiting underground for desperate hands to remember. But World War II was worse. In France in 1940, Nazi forces seized 80% of all food production. Potatoes went to German soldiers. What remained for French families were scraps. Sunchokes, rutabagas, vegetables once fed to pigs. For 4 years, millions survived on topinambur. People despised it. The tubers were small and difficult to clean. Eaten daily, they caused terrible gas. Still, they kept children alive when everything else had been taken. The Nazi hunger plan deliberately starved occupied populations. But sunchokes could not be controlled. Too hardy, too wild. They just grew. In the Netherlands, the winter of 1944 became the hunger winter. 22,000 people died of starvation. The government published emergency cookbooks listing wild plants, tulip bulbs, and sunchokes. Families dug frozen ground with bare hands searching for tubers. After liberation, survivors refused to eat them ever again. An entire generation associated topinambur with death, with occupation, with the worst years humanity had endured. In France, grandparents who survived would not allow it on their tables. Never again. The vegetable that saved millions became a symbol of suffering. It disappeared from markets, from cookbooks, from memory. But war could not change what sunchokes actually were. 73 calories per 100 grams, 2 grams of protein, potassium at 429 milligrams, more than bananas, iron, copper, magnesium, B vitamins in every cell. The real power is inulin, 50 to 60% by weight. One of Earth's richest sources. Inulin passes through your stomach undigested, reaches your colon intact. Beneficial bacteria, especially bifidobacterium, consume it. They multiply and produce short-chain fatty acids. These lower intestinal pH, block pathogens, help absorb calcium and magnesium that would otherwise pass through unused. Studies showed it reduces constipation, boosts immune function, may prevent certain cancers before they start. Potatoes spike blood sugar rapidly. Sunchokes do not. The inulin converts to fructose slowly. Diabetics in the 1980s documented eating sunchokes daily. Their insulin requirements dropped by half. Folk medicine validated by modern science. And the plant heals damaged land. It is perennial, requires no tilling, causes no erosion. Deep roots crack compacted soil. It tolerates drought, poor soil, cold to minus 30 degrees Celsius. Where annual crops die, sunchokes thrive. They were designed by evolution for chaos. In the 1960s in California, produce wholesaler Frida Kaplan stared at knobbly tubers gathering dust in her warehouse. The name was killing sales. Jerusalem artichoke. Confusing. Wrong. It came from neither Jerusalem nor was it an artichoke. The Italian girasole, meaning sunflower, had been corrupted by English speakers into Jerusalem. She renamed it sunchoke and trademarked the name in 1980. Packaged it in 1-pound bags with recipes. Sales jumped 600%. Chefs discovered it. Nutty, sweet, crisp when raw, creamy when cooked. High-end restaurants served sunchoke soup, roasted sides, elegant purees. But something bigger was happening. In the 1980s, the farm crisis hit. Midwest farmers were collapsing under debt. An experiment began: grow sunchokes for food, animal feed, fuel, and independence from corporate supply chains. High yields. Perennial. Ethanol could be fermented from inulin. Perfect. It failed economically. No established market, no processing infrastructure. Farmers lost money. But the idea survived. A crop for self-sufficiency. For communities that refuse corporate control. In France, decades after the war, chefs reclaimed topinambour, part of légumes oubliés, the forgotten vegetables, no longer symbols of suffering. Heritage. By the 2000s, sunchokes appeared in farmers' markets across North America and Europe. Permaculture. Advocates called them the Holy Grail. Plant once, harvest forever. Today, scientists study sunchokes for marginal lands. Where climate change kills wheat and corn, the sunchoke waits. Born in chaos. Built for extremes. Resilience incarnate. So why do we not see it everywhere? Industrial agriculture demands uniformity. Crops that ripen on schedule. Harvest by machine. Ship without bruising. Store for months. Look perfect under fluorescent lights. Sunchokes refuse every requirement. They mature at different times. Spoil quickly. Potato harvesters lose half the tubers. Too small. Too attached to roots. Efficient harvest requires specialized equipment or hand labor. Neither scales, neither profits. And the inulin problem persists. What makes them nutritionally superior causes gas. Gut bacteria need time to adapt. But modern food systems do not tolerate adaptation periods. They demand instant satisfaction. The nickname spread. Artichoke. A joke. Even Julia Child asked if the flatulence problem could be fixed. Yes. Cook longer. Heat converts inulin to fructose. Or eat small amounts. Let your body adjust. But that requires patience. Industrial food has none. So sunchokes remain niche. Farmers' markets, specialty crops, home gardens where they spread uncontrollably. That uncontrollable spread is precisely the point. You cannot kill sunchokes without poison. Any fragment sprouts. In Europe they are called invasive when they escape cultivation. Invasive, the word we use for things that succeed without permission. Things that do not need us. Things that remind us control is illusion. The sunchoke teaches what empires want buried. Abundance does not require control. Perennials return without permission. They do not need annual seed purchases, chemical inputs, corporate approval. They adapt, persist, outlast. But crops that persist without generating profit are dangerous to the system. The sunchoke outyields potatoes, heals degraded soil, feeds communities without middlemen. It cannot be patented, cannot be owned, cannot generate perpetual revenue streams. So it is called primitive, difficult, unsuitable for modern agriculture. Climate change accelerates. Droughts, floods, extreme heat. The crops feeding 8 billion people were bred for climate stability that no longer exists. The sunchoke was born in chaos. It stores energy where drought cannot reach. Survives cold that kills potatoes. Outproduces corn using 1/3 the water. When industrial systems fail, the sunchoke will be ready. It has been ready for 4 centuries. French families survived Nazi occupation eating topinambour they hated. Dutch mothers dug frozen earth for tubers to feed starving children. Native Americans called it a gift from Sky Woman's body. If this archive opened something for you, subscribe to Lost Nature Archives and hit the bell. Every like and share preserves what they tried to erase. The next archive opens soon.